episode of Free Game Friday, and I'm with the esteemed Bernie Watkins. She represents artists such as Mulatto, 21 Savage, Hit Kid. Am I saying it right? Hit Kid. Tay Key. You know, she got her own distribution situation, got her own artists. She's a world-renowned major entertainment lawyer, one of the biggest in the game, and she's a HBCU alumni. I don't know all the specifics.
HU Howard.
Come on, man. So I got Bernie Watkins with me on the show today.
Yes,
and it's an honor and it's a privilege. And she also represents me. So, you know, it's only right.
Yes.
You feel me?
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a couple of corrections.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
It's Lotto.
Miss
It's
Mulatto.
Lotto.
It's just straight Lotto.
It's just Lotto
straight
now.
Lotto. I got you.
And also, I used to represent Savage. I did his deal over at Epic, and I also did the first project. It's a project.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Cool. That's dope. So,
but I do, work with a lot of the Slaughter Gang artists. I do represent a few of them.
Is there anybody else you want to mention that I probably didn't touch on? That
Sure.
You feel?
Jetson Maid, Cheese Beats, Kid Hazel, Doughboy, Yo Dog, Rini, Baby Tate, the list goes on.
The list goes
Yes.
on. So how many? When I go to your office, I see it look like hundreds of plaques. Have you kept count?
Well, actually, it's over 100 plaques, but I don't keep them in the office. Yeah.
Okay. So y'all get to know she's credible, relevant in what she do. She's very knowledgeable. Like I said, she's one of the biggest in the game, and I'm honored to have you on here. So I want to first get in. How did you get started in music? Give me a little bit of your background. What got you into being
Sure.
an entertainment lawyer? What got you in the music space? I kind of want to go from there.
Sure, definitely. So I was raised in New York City,
Okay.
and I actually used to rap. So
Okay.
yeah, I used to spit a little, and I attended
What was your rap name?
Lady B.
Lady B.
Lady
Okay,
B.
Cool.
So I attended a performing arts high school in New York, which is known as the Fame School, where my major was voice. So I thought I was going to be a performer. My parents, I am Caribbean, so my parents were not very fond of being an artist. They didn't know what that was. So they were like, you got to go to college. So I was like, okay, I'll go to college. I ended up going to Howard University with my brother. And while we were at Howard, he ended up getting a record deal.
Okay.
And it turned out to be one of those deals where, you could see he was basically a starving artist.
Okay.
And so being that I'm a sister, I was able to see firsthand what it was like. And I said, from that point on, I'm going to go to law school, and I'm going to be that advocate for entertainers to get them the best deals possible, and those that were in bad deals, get them out.
Okay.
So that's what I've been doing ever since. I hit the ground running. My brother was one of the original hitmen for Bad Boy. He produced a lot of hits, from Hypnotized to Love Like This Before for Faith, for All Night Long. He did Money, Power, Respect. The list goes on. So he was actually one of my first clients.
Okay. So Bernie, I'm gonna get in deep with you, right? You know I'm your friend and I love you, right? But I have certain interesting perspectives, and I just want to get your perspective. So when I ask you these questions, I want to ask the questions that I feel like artists are going to be able to take these nuggets from, you know what I'm saying, and really get an understanding, because I know one of the biggest things in help educating artists, producers, singers, songwriters, people in the entertainment space as a whole, a lot of time creative people, they really don't understand business from my perspective, right?
True.
So one of the things that I when you say my goal was to help artists get out of bad deals, can you please elaborate for me?
Yeah, pun on words, right? Bad. It was bad. Bad meaning bad or bad meaning good.
Right.
So, the thing is, back in the day, I have to say, those deals were a lot different than they are today.
Okay.
So when you sign a deal back in the day, it was really taking everything from your copyrights to your recording rights as it relates to your masters as well as the musical compositions. So basically, you didn't own anything. So, you know, that's not a great situation to be in.
Definitely.
When you sign a deal, they give you some money up front, but it's basically in exchange for everything that you own. So fast forward to today, the deals are a lot different.
Okay.
So when I talk about a bad situation, it's basically when the talent has no idea what it is that they're signing for a few dollars and they're giving everything away.
Okay. So that being said, right, you have been definitely enlightening for me when it comes to understanding different things with the business. Like anytime I ask you any questions as an attorney, you always enlighten me. I want to know, a majority of artists, right, when they get entertainment attorneys and they sign these type of deals, why do you feel that it's such?
Well, sometimes, you know, actually, let's go back to getting the attorney. I think it's really important for talent to interview their lawyers to make sure they get the right lawyers, because some lawyers want to be the artist and some lawyers want to be in on the scene, and they don't really thoroughly read the contracts. So that
The
presents
lawyer or the artist?
the lawyer.
They don't thoroughly read the contract?
Sometimes they don't. So you just got to make sure you got a lawyer who is really representing your best interests and is going to explain to you all the terms that are in the agreement.
Right.
And the reason why I say they don't thoroughly read the contracts, I've been in situations where we presented agreements to lawyers and they will send an email or a call, just say, well, just change the dollar amount and just, can you give us an additional royalty point? That's it. I mean, they're not reading.
So basically, they're just trying to get
the paragraphs,
So-
because it's more than just the royalty and the money.
right. So basically, they just trying to get the deal done.
They're just trying to get the deal done. Correct.
Okay. So
And they're charging the same fee.
that's insane. But the reason why I asked this, Bernie, because you know I've been screaming, I've been waving the flag for the longest when a lot of artists try to persecute executives, right? And they say, "Oh, you put me in this situation," and they have representation. And I be like, "You're mad at the wrong." In my opinion, you're mad at the wrong person. I feel like you have representation. You should be mad at your representation. You feel me? Because that's what they're there for.
That's what they're there for. And there's a clause in the contract that says that you have a right to hire an attorney. And if you choose not to hire an attorney, then you agree that you chose to represent yourself in this matter.
Okay, cool. So let's get a little bit into contracts, right? If you was giving a suggestion to an artist, what would be the steps that they need to take as far as what? So let me reword this question. What are the basic principal things that artists should look for in a contract?
The basic things that artists need to look for is the term, like how long are they signing for, or how many albums is being requested in the deal, or how many years. The second thing is how many songs that they have to do, and if the songs can be considered to be, like, say for example, if they have single commitments, right? Can a certain number of singles add up to an album?
Right.
Like, say if they released 15 singles, can that also be an album equivalent? So that's another thing, because sometimes you can just drop a whole bunch of singles and then they're not counting. But and then
Right.
at the end of the day, you ended up releasing an album.
Right.
Another thing is the mixtapes. Are they going to count?
Right.
And you
That's
can
one
put
thing
out
I added
5,
in them.
6, 7,
Yeah.
8 mixtapes, and you still don't have. You haven't met your commitment.
Right.
So that's also an issue. And another thing that they need to look out for is, in terms of the advance, what does that advance mean? Sometimes labels will do a bonus advance, a sign-in bonus. Okay, do I have to pay it back? You know, that's something that you have to get clarification on versus just the advance, which is, as you know, a loan. Another thing that you have to be aware of is everything that the label's paying for, from your recording to your clothing, the gym, if there's any type of cosmetic surgery, or
They doing that now?
teeth. Yeah, I mean, they'll do it all, you know, to make the artist right.
Right.
So you're gonna have to pay that back. So
Right.
you have to keep tabs on that.
Right.
So you know, you want to make sure that there's some level of transparency there. In terms of expenses, is it documented expenses? Because we know a lot of times with these labels, everything including the kitchen sink can be considered an expense.
Right.
And who's to say what's an expense if it's not properly worded in your agreement?
Right. So,
And the list goes on. And, you know, I can
right.
continue to move forward on.
So, independent artist that's listening to this right now is probably scared. Like, why should I even do a deal? I should stay independent. That's too much.
Well, it costs to be independent. It costs a lot of money to be independent. And also, this is a relationship-driven business, so it's hard to get anything done by yourself. You don't know the right people. Yeah, you can release your music on DSPs, but what, 100,000 people a day, or is it 100,000 people a week are releasing music?
Right.
And you're in the pool of that 100,000 people, so how are you gonna get noticed? So you gotta have the ability to get your music on playlists. Can you do that on your own? That's a challenge. So you gotta have people in your corner that are working with you to make sure that you can get your project to the next level.
Right. Okay, cool. So, basically, you're saying for an upcoming artist, right, the goal should be what?
For upcoming artists, the goal really should be, how do you establish your brand?
Okay.
You know, brand recognition is extremely important in this business. What I find is that talent today are more so interested or concerned about the song. Once that song dies down, if you didn't develop a brand, then they're gonna forget about you.
Okay.
So that brand awareness is extremely important. That's like number one.
Right.
Who are you as an artist? How do people identify you? And how are you identified to your fans?
Okay, so I want to ask this question. If I'm an independent artist and I need an attorney, right, what would make you want to work with an artist? Is it, like, can you break that down? Would it be just budget, or would it be he got a buzz, or, you know, or maybe a little of both?
Well, for me as an attorney, it's really more than that. Where I am in my career, it's whether or not I can vibe with that artist,
Right.
whether or not we can develop that right relationship, because vibe is extremely important. It's not about just working with somebody because they got a bag. Because if you got a bad attitude, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Right. Right.
So I'm not gonna mess with you. No. Also, do you have a vision for yourself? Where are you trying to go? How do you see yourself in the next year, two? You know, what's your plan? Do you
Right.
have a plan for how you're gonna roll out your project? So I wanna know more about your intentions. You know, that's extremely important. How are you moving forward in this game?
Right.
So you gotta have an idea. If you just say, "Oh, I just want to be an artist," and what does that mean? What does that look like? If you can't describe that, then no, we can't work together.
Okay, so
It's a business. I'm a business person.
no, and I get it, and so I want to be as information as possible when I'm interviewing, because people don't understand how special this is and how special you are as an attorney to be willing to come on here, do this podcast, and give a lot of information to a lot of people. I want you to break down, what are deal points?
So when you talk about deal points, you're talking about terms that are relevant to the deal. So we're looking at, again, how many albums are being requested, what type of money are we looking at, what are the obligations for both parties, what's the recording commitment, is this a project that's going to be released nationally, or are you also getting world rights on this deal? Is this a licensed deal, or is this a straight artist deal?
So what's a license deal?
A licensed deal is when you own all the masters, and you're basically giving rights to the record label or the distributor to release your music.
So I want to ask you a question, right? So a lot of artists
for a fee.
Right. So a lot of artists talk about owning masters, right? For me, what is the relevance of an artist owning their master, and what is the benefit of an artist allowing the label to get the master? And two, my opinion, why is it such a big deal to revert masters back?
Well, the first question, why would an artist...
What's the benefit of an artist owning their master?
What's the benefit of an artist owning the master? So ownership, there's a saying, he who holds the gold makes the rules.
Right.
So when you have ownership in the master, you have basically, you have the gold. That's the gold.
Right.
But in addition to ownership, there's what's called control.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, control has more relevance than ownership, because when we're looking at giving someone exclusive rights, nobody else can do anything with those masters but the person who has control. And even if you own the work, if you can't control it, someone else can control it, then the person who has the control really has the say in what to do with those masters. They can stop you from releasing it. They can help you make money with it. They basically say what can be done.
Right. So it's not really about owning the master. It's about who controls the master.
Who controls the master is extremely important.
So
that's really important.
So do you think a label would sign and invest a lot of money into an artist where they don't control masters?
A label? No, not a label. No, they have to have control of the master, because the issue is if you have several distributors, for example, that are distributing the same work, then it's going to be an issue when it comes to collecting the residuals, the money that's being earned from the distribution of the work. So if you have, for example, one master, or if you have several masters of that same work, that same song being released at the same time, then you have in the system, for example, you'll have what's called a UPC code that's tied to the master, right? And whoever
that's a uniform. Was it postal? What is it? UPC.
It's a universal product code.
Product code, right?
Exactly.
That's just like the bar scans that you see on a bar soap.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So those codes allow it, basically all the information regarding who owns or controls that work is tied to that UPC.
Okay.
And once that song is released, whoever has that code collects the money.
Right.
Now, the problem with that is if you have several people that own that master, now you got to get one party to account to the other party, because you got several distributions of that same work.
Right.
And who's to say that this person is accounting to you properly?
Right.
So those are kind of the glitches that you can run into.
So pretty much you're not going to get a major situation unless you have a certain amount of leverage by controlling masters.
That's correct, because the label wants to make sure that if there's going to be a release of a work, that they know every single outlet where that song is being distributed and streamed or sold, so that they can collect all the money. So now your second, you had another question about why is it so important to get the masters back?
No, I didn't say why is it so important to get the masters back. My thing is this right here. I always tell people are so big on owning a master and they don't have no leverage, they don't have no money, they need somebody to invest in them, but they don't want to, they're so fixated on, I gotta own my masters, they don't understand the bigger picture. My thing has always been, why not just have the attorney put a reversion clause in the contract to where after a certain amount of time, you made money, they made money, the masters can be reverted back to you.
Yeah, but also the thing is that I wanted to cover, when a person owns the master, even though they gave the rights of control to the record label or the distributor, if that master is being licensed for a movie or to a television show, because they have ownership in that master, they get to share in that money as well.
That's called a sync, right?
Yes.
Okay. I want to give as much information as possible, Bernie, because I want people to understand the terminologies so they can be educated, because I deal with a lot of independent artists and a lot of them don't understand the terminologies that's used. Like a lot of artists don't even know what a master is. Can you break down what a master is for them?
Sure. So, and some people don't even like the term master because of what it represents in the past. And really, master came from being the only file that existed of that particular work. Right. So another term, or the proper term that's used to identify a master, is a sound recording. Right. And the reason why it's a sound recording is because it embodies all the actual performances in that work. So that goes to the vocals, the instrumentation, as well as the arrangement by the producer. Okay. That is all embodied in that sound recording. So all the sounds that you hear, that's part of the sound recording. Now, the difference between a sound recording and a musical composition is the musical composition is the written, it's the basically the written work, or the work that relates to the lyrics, the instrumentation, but of like the music that you write, and then you have the melody. Right. So back in the day, before we were creating music on computers, you actually had to write notes. And compose it. Yeah, and that's how you wrote music. You had to actually write music with notes, musical notes. And fast forward to today, everything is different, but the same definition applies. So it's the work that exists prior to the before it being transferred to an actual sound recording.
But from the actual performance.
Yeah, so the musical composition is the work that exists first. It's the original work that comes about, and then it's then embodied onto a sound recording, because you can have lyrics, and then you have like someone can play on an acoustic guitar or on a piano what the sound is supposed to be, and create that melody, and then you have a band come in, or have some kind of sounds.
What about a producer?
Producer to come in and arrange. The producer is part of the sound recording. Right. So a producer is not necessarily a songwriter. A lot of people get that confused. They think that because they're a producer, they're a songwriter. No, that's only if you actually created the beat. If you created the beat, then you're a songwriter.
Okay.
The producer is the arranger. They're the person that comes in and say, look, we need hi-hats here, or we need a bass here, or we need to add some more sounds. We need to have a guitar player, or we need to move the bridge and move it from the back into the front. They're the ones that basically arrange the songs.
Right.
So their rights go into the sound recording.
Kinda
That's
like what
someone
Quincy
like
Jones
Quincy
used to do.
Jones, exactly.
Right, I got you.
And Puff.
And Puff, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That's production. That's producing a work.
Right.
So that's basically the main difference. I tell people just think the musical composition is a written work,
Right.
and the sound recording is basically the performances, the sounds that you hear on the work.
Okay, cool. So we getting technical, and I hope everybody is picking this up. You know, Bernie is breaking it down for us. So I hope y'all taking notes, because this is really, really important information. I know a lot of artists don't study the craft; they just jump into it, throw something at the wall, and hope it sticks. You feel me? So,
Right.
you know, we have to understand the business in order so we don't be in our feelings. Because I feel like a lot of artists don't operate from a logical perspective. They operate from an emotional perspective, and I get it. That's part of their creativity. But I also want to tap on publishing. What is publishing?
Okay, so basically, publishing is when we take a musical composition and we bring it to you can either be self-published, or you can go to a third-party publisher who says, I'm going to take your songs and I'm going to help you exploit them so that they can be used in movies, video games, television shows, commercials, and then I'm going to help collect the royalties, and we can split the payment. And depending on the type of publishing deal that you get, it can be either where you co-own the publishing with the publisher, or the publisher just acts as your administrator, where you own 100% of the publishing, and they only collect the money and charge you a fee for the collection.
Okay, so as an artist would figure out, why would I need somebody to collect the fee for me? Why can't I just collect it myself? Can you elaborate on that?
Of course. I mean, there are so many, when you release a song, it's just being played in so many different places. There's so many outlets that is being used, especially overseas, and you just don't have those capabilities. You may be able to collect it in the US, but you most likely are going to miss out. Whereas with these publishers, they are, especially the bigger publishers, they have people who are specifically there for that purpose, to see who's actually using the work, and whether or not this person had permission, and if not, they'll call them up, or email them and reach out to them and say, look, you used this song on this show, you owe us this money. So you don't have that time as an individual to sit there and account for every single place or person that's using your song. So you hire professionals to do that for you.
Okay, cool. What do you
for
think?
A fee.
So what do you think is a good fee? Look, I'm asking the questions that I know that they would want to know, so I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I just tell people in this business, everything's negotiable. They're going to come at you with 50-50. So everything's negotiable. It's based on leverage.
It's based on leverage.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
So,
what about an admin fee?
Well, in a perfect world, I would say 90-10.
Okay, the artist get 90, the
Yeah,
administration get 10%.
Exactly.
They get a 10% fee off whatever they bring in.
Exactly. It's
Okay,
a 90-10
cool.
split. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So let me ask you this: what is a distribution fee?
So when a distribution fee is when you are being distributed by well, let me break it down a little further. When we're dealing with these major labels, you have, for example, in the Sony system, you may have RCA Records, you got Epic Records, you got Columbia Records, you have Alamo Records, you got Orchard. Now, these are record companies, and then their distributor is Sony.
Right.
So if you sign on with one of these majors, you may do a split with them, and that split may be a 50-50 split, but then there's a fee that they're gonna tag on top of that, which may be anywhere between 15 to 25% that they gotta pay to the distributor, which is Sony.
Okay.
So you end up being, if it's, you're basically off the top paying out anywhere to 85 to 75 to on the label side.
Okay, so you know I'm asking these questions. I'm very knowledgeable, right? But I'm just asking this because I want the viewers to get an understanding of what this is, right? Because you're an attorney, you're you know high esteem. What do you feel like is a good distribution fee? I ain't trying to put you in a hot seat. That's not what this is, I promise, Bernie.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, it really all depends. I just say the lower the better, you know. If you can get that fee down to 10, then, which is probably not likely, but, you know, I would say around 15% is more realistic. You know, I don't think they're going to go lower than that.
So why do you feel like labels are charging such high distribution fees when there's really not any distribution being done besides streaming? I'm sorry.
That's a good point. No, you're right. You're definitely right. It's a high fee because when you look at back in the day, when we were talking about physicals, because of the cost that you had to pay when it came to the packaging, the manufacturing, then you had to pay for the manufacturing of the work. And then you have to pay for the packaging of the work, and then you got the manpower for all of that. So all that goes into the cost. And today, all that stuff is gone. Right. So that's a valid question. Yes. Why are the fees so high? I don't have an answer for you, and I'm not going to try to make up one because no, the fees are ridiculous.
See, this is Pre-Game Friday. This is a free game podcast. So I'm just trying to educate and give people gaming things to look out for the future. So, you know, the reason why I asked because I've seen in several contracts, and I'm like, distribution fee, 25%. What are we distributing? A car?
Right, exactly, yeah.
And so I'm like, if my knowledge, everything is being streamed.
Everything is being streamed.
Right.
Yes, everything's being streamed. You
have exceptions. You know, you can still go to Best Buy. You may see a CD at a Walmart. I don't know, but you know, for the most part, I think everything is being streamed. You know, correct. So I didn't never understand the points for distribution fees to be so high. I just want to give the artists, the producers, or whoever's listening out here things to be notable of when they're going through contracts and when they're negotiating terms, so they could be aware of.
And also to point out, generally, when it comes to the distribution fee, that's not something that's discussed. You have to actually ask about it. You know, what is the distribution fee?
Right.
Because when they present a proposal, that's never going to be stated.
Right, and that's why I feel like artists are being taken advantage of unfairly by labels because we already know we have to get into the conversation of gross receipt and net receipt deals, right?
Exactly.
So can you elaborate? Or is that going to take too much time for you to elaborate on what a gross receipt deal is?
Well, I mean, basically, when you talk about gross versus net, your net is after all the expenses are paid out.
Right. And
it really is going to depend on what the definition is, and it can be defined differently for different situations.
Correct.
So, you know, you got to help in terms of what you narrowing the cost and what's going to be charged against the gross.
Exactly. But the primary thing is usually in a gross receipt situation, the expenses is took off the top and then we bust down the bag.
Exactly.
Right. And in a net receipt deal, I get my fee and then we bust down the bag.
Right.
Okay. So I'm just trying to just educate people who's tuned in because I noticed you might do a gross receipt deal, and then on top of the gross receipt deal, they charge you a distribution fee.
They charge you a distribution fee, correct.
So you thinking you're doing a 50-50 split, but really you're more and more and more in the hole. I just want, I'm saying this, I know I'm giving out a lot of information. Let me know if I'm going against code.
Another thing
because I don't want nobody, no special fraternities coming after me like, Boom is giving out all the game. He's letting everybody know the secrets. Oh my God, somebody get rid of him. Take it all down off of all the internet.
You know, and the other thing is, another area of concern that I realize people don't understand is when they take an advance and how that advance is being recouped. It's only against your share, your artist share. So, the label's gonna get their money from record one, from $1.
Well, you want me to tell you this? The funny part about the situation, though, Bernie, is I don't see nothing wrong with it. The reason why I'm speaking from a biased standpoint, but I look at it like this: if I have the power to change your life, and it's about performance, and I'm making you a household name, I need you to produce. If you don't have leverage, if I'm going all in, I need you to produce because I'm in the business of making a profit. I'm not in the business of just making my money back. And I understand it's super, super, super expensive in the music business to invest into anybody, especially if they're not producing. But I understand these days, a lot of labels aren't taking as many gambles as they used to back in the day. It's not how it used to be where, Whitney Houston get $100 million invested in her and, just off of potential or she's an amazing sound or amazing voice. I understand now it's based off of streamings and multiples and things of that nature. And I can get into that conversation because I understand that that's an even deeper conversation because, we talk about market share.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when it comes to, I'm actually in agreement with you. I mean, this is a business. So when a business is putting out money, they're going to want to recoup their investment and make some money. The whole reason why they're signing you is because they believe it's a great investment opportunity and they can make money on you. Right. So it's really not about, hey, I'm just gonna make my money back.
Exactly.
That's not why you do business. You do business because you want to make money.
Exactly.
Not just to break even.
Exactly.
So it's a deeper conversation than that.
But I'm just doing this because I want to educate and enlighten so nobody starts to feel advantage of that. I want them to be able to rewind like, okay, we about to do this deal. Let's go back to this podcast we seen Boomman and Bernie did and let's take out some of these jewels and some of these nuggets so I could be prepared when I come sit down at the table and I could be like, what's my distribution fee? Am I doing a gross receipt deal or a net receipt deal? Why would I do a gross receipt deal? Do I understand the leverage that I'm in? Okay, what's ancillaries? What's the splits? So let's talk ancillaries.
Okay.
Because we skipped over market share, but we can come back to market share because that's a whole deeper conversation for me because I want to understand as independent artists, I know, well, I'm all over the place now, so I don't want to be all over the place, right? So let's talk about ancillaries. Okay. What is ancillaries?
So ancillaries are basically revenue that's earned outside of record sales. Okay. So that could be book sales, walkthroughs, live performances, TV shows, just anything outside of record sales where the artist is making money. And that actually came into play when Napster was, there was an issue with Napster and piracy and labels were complaining that they weren't making any money. They were the ones responsible for blowing up the artists and they needed a way to get their money back.
So for people who don't know, Bernie, a lot of people, we dealing with a lot of different demographics and age. They might not understand what Napster is. And so Napster was kind of like the first like iTunes type situation that you could go in, but it was like more like underground where you could go get free music. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean,
because I remember I used to get a lot of music off Napster.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So basically, you were able to get music for free. People were not paying for it.
Right.
And
I got all the dope CDs. I'm a big. I'm guilty.
And that was in my opinion, I believe the labels went a little too hard against Napster because my thing is if you can't beat them, you join them. You figure out what it is that they're doing and saying, okay, well, this must be the new way. Let's see how we can be in business with this company and figure out a new
method of getting
of distributing music.
Right. Okay, so let's get back to market share. What is market share?
So market share is basically when you look to see where most of your money is being earned, in terms of who has a large percentage of growth potential as it relates to making money in particular areas. And when you look into market share, you basically are looking to your deals are based on what percentage of music is in a particular jurisdiction.
Right.
In locality. And a lot of times the labels, when it comes to distributing songs or tracks, they basically are asking for market share because, you know, they want to make sure that they're getting the bulk of the revenue,
right?
For the distribution of that particular work.
The reason why I asked this, right, because I know with the, you know, major streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, you know, Deezer, you know, some of these super huge streaming platforms that everybody go to get music. The big three major labels, which is Universal, Sony, and Warner. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Typically they should have market share, right?
Yeah.
Because all of the subsidiary companies and all the major streaming artists, right? That's why I have an issue when people say stay independent, because I'm like, how are you going to make a real career in music independently when the major three has market share?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So people think I'm just...
They have the ability to distribute the music on a larger scale.
Right, they don't understand. Like, so that's the reason why I always scream, like, being independent, like, that's the most absurd thing that I've heard to try to stay, because it's you're not gonna own anything for real. You feel me? So it's like it's gatekeepers at these doors. If I'm a big three, right, and I have market share, and the big thing right now is playlisting, right? Mm-hmm. To me, playlisting is the new radio. You know, back in the day before playlisting, you got to get on radio to be the pop. Right. Now everybody, you got to get on playlisting to pop. I disagree, but you know, that's a part of, you know, I guess the game that people try to sell you on. This is free game, so I'm trying to give it to them. You feel me?
Right.
So it's more than one way to skin a cat. You get where I'm coming from?
Yes.
Now, I do think playlisting is important, but how do we really get to major playlisting? If I'm a big three and my artist is Drake, 21 Savage, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, why would and I got thousands of artists, why would I reserve, and I know it's only a couple hundred slots or 52 or whatever slots on this playlist, and I got thousands of artists, why would I make it available to people that's not in my fraternity? And I own market share.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, it's, you know, the unfortunate thing is now playlisting is political.
Right.
It's extremely political. It's not what we thought it was like when it first started. When it first came about, yeah, it was available to everyone, but then again, the gatekeepers found a way to control it. And
he who has the gold makes the rules.
He who holds the gold makes the rules.
So you independently, I want artists to know, because I make a lot of money independently, right?
Yes, you do.
But I'm creative in my techniques and in my structure, and I've been doing it for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. Because my goal isn't getting deals. My goal is generating funds for the artist. That's my number one goal. And it's more about content and creating dope content to build a fan base and creating your own platforms to create a fan base. I wanted to touch on, it was something else, because I want to get through these different, terminologies and different things that artists should be aware of while looking at contracts or dealing with lawyers to kind of help them get through their journey for when they start doing deals or even when they're working out deals.
Yeah, so, one important aspect that I wanted to say.
No, I'm going to let you finish, but I didn't want to lose my thought because I don't have a cue card.
Okay.
I want to touch on perpetuity. I want to touch on that. Perpetuity.
Okay.
Big word.
So, in terms of lawyers, I will tell talent that they should have an engagement letter with their lawyer. And that engagement letter basically breaks down how the lawyer is charging their client.
Okay.
And the reason why that's important is because you should never, you meaning the talent should never be in a position where they don't know how they're being charged.
Right.
You should always have a document that you can refer to that tells you, well, this is how, this is how I'm being charged. That's extremely important. Now, to address your question about perpetuity means forever. And why would anyone agree to doing a deal forever?
Exactly.
And so that's basically the lifetime of the deal, or however, however that song is being sold, however long that song is being sold, you'll make money. Now, a lot of times, the reason why perpetuity comes into play is because if, for example, the company that you're working with or the person, whether it be your manager, if they, in the beginning, they spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money trying to get you where you need to be, and it may take a few years, and then next you know you hit the jackpot, and now it starts raining and everybody's making money. That person in the beginning spent a lot of time not making any money. So now that money's coming through, the thought process is I should be able to benefit for the lifetime of however long this song is making money, because I'm responsible for helping you get to where you are.
Right. My thoughts on perpetuity, right? I definitely agree with you in instances. But once again, it's based off of leverage. If I created something from the ground and we did something together, I feel like it's collaborative. You feel me? I feel like if you didn't have no following, no buzz, no name, no nothing, and I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars like I'm paying for a college tuition, right? I'm investing in not only the music, I'm investing into the person and to change your life, right? So in instances, when it comes to certain records, I don't see nothing wrong with, okay, I get to participate off of this record that I invested in because we did this together. You brought the talent, I brought the money. It's just like if we say, hey, we're gonna start a restaurant, right? And you're the chef and I got the funds. I'm not gonna invest the money to get the restaurant off the ground and only eat for a year or two.
Right. Now, I understand your perspective.
I want to eat it from the life of the business.
Right. No, I hear you. But the issue then becomes when this project now has to, like, say your relationship with this person terminates or expires, and now this talent has to go and hire somebody else, and they have to work on this project and do some other things, fix some things that weren't done properly the first go around. Whoever is the next person coming behind, they're not going to want to work on it for free. They want to get paid too. So now,
right. I'm not talking about the artist. I'm talking about the song.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is, you're getting paid off of the song in perpetuity, right? But say, and let's say related to a publishing issue, right? You did a deal, publishing deal, you were tied to that deal. Now another person, let's say in a management situation, the manager now has to work on maybe working out a new deal, like maybe some things weren't done properly, or songs weren't properly registered, or they're doing a lot of work on this new situation. They want to be paid their fee. So say you were getting 20%. Okay. And then this new manager comes in, and that new manager wants 20%. Okay. Now
the new manager could buy my percent. The new manager could buy my percent. Because he wasn't there in the beginning when I built this house.
Well.
Am I tripping?
Are you tripping? Yes, you're tripping. Yes, you are tripping.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, you were responsible for helping putting that project together, and then you were able to make money. So maybe you can make money for a sunset period.
Okay. All right.
And then after it drops off, and now you let somebody else be able to make some money off of that work.
I always agree with that. I like sunset periods. Like I said, revisions. I'm not against revisions. If we made enough money, you know, and I made off my investment, I'm not against revisions.
Yeah, I mean, share the wealth.
Right. Once again, I have a different viewpoint. Some might like it, some might not.
Yeah.
Once again, it's like it depends on where we at and how we started. You know, for me, I understand people. I think a lot of artists, right? When you come to like independent ground up labels and you have no motion, a lot of these people not like me, right? When I say not like me, I ain't robbing nobody. I ain't selling no dope. I ain't kicking no doors. I ain't scamming nobody. I ain't doing nothing contrary to popular belief. I'm figuring it out, working it out. But you got some people that put their life on the line. You get where I'm coming from? You got some people who got it out the mud for real. Some people done did some wicked things to get this money to invest in you because it's not a cheap game. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Some people spend hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars gambling on you to see if it's gonna work, to help pop you off. So in those situations, if we spinning that and I finally hit a song and it goes up, I wanna eat off that song. I feel like this is our record.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like it's your record, and you may, again, you
Not my record, our record.
Well, the record belongs to both of you for a period of time.
I feel that.
And then it's time to cut ties and let somebody else make some money.
So,
because they may have to rework that record.
hey.
Or there are situations where, and I've seen it a lot, where that person really didn't do anything, and then they're getting money.
That's a difference.
That's a problem.
And I agree, and that's a difference. But you know me, I don't do that anyway. People who don't want to work with me, I want to work with them anyway.
Yeah,
you know how I work.
Yeah.
But it is my viewpoint is, if somebody was, it just depends on the circumstance and it depends on the person. But I'm not a big fan of perpetuity. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan for life. But I do get the perspective of somebody that might want to participate in something that they feel like they built. You know what I'm saying? For the life of something. I definitely don't believe in somebody should own an artist, all their rights and all their things, or a producer for the life of that producer. I feel like that's bondage. And I feel like that's not freedom to allow a creative person to be creative. And that stagnates the growth of the artist, and that kills the creative process of the artist. So
exactly,
you know,
and you're correct. You raised the interesting point that kills the creative process of the artist, because if the artist is not happy in their deal, they're not going to want to create.
Exactly.
And you don't want to create an environment that's hostile for the artist. You want to make sure that the artist is happy. Right.
That's why I'm big on contingencies. Can we talk about contingencies?
What you want to know?
What is a contingency-based deal?
So it's contingent on something happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's let me work out a situation for you, and if something happens, this is the percentage I'm going to get.
Okay.
It's contingent on something happening.
I just want to throw these terminologies out here because even though we may have different opinions in certain things, it's still all educational.
Right.
You know
and that contingency could range anywhere from 5 to 20%. You know, I've seen 20% on the high end.
And a certain amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. It could be based on the number of projects that you do. It can, I've seen people want to do it for the life of the deal. I think that's too long, but yeah.
So let me ask you this: what is the when an artist is getting into a deal and they want to know what's the right amount of projects you think an artist should do a deal for? What's considered too long? Like, what's the right amount of projects an artist should sign for?
Well, the law today is 7 albums or 10 years.
That's the law? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So you just taught me something.
You can't be in a deal longer than 7 albums or 10 years.
You heard that. The law today is 7 albums or 10 years. It should not exceed that amount. I didn't know that.
Exactly.
That's free game.
Yeah, so that's free game. Most labels today will do deals for 4 to 5 albums.
4 to 5 albums. That's what they call industry standard.
That's industry standard.
For
Exactly.
sure. 4 to 5 albums. So if somebody try to get you over 4 to 5 albums, you already know that's 7 is max.
Yes.
All right, cool.
So I think when it comes to doing deals with a new partner, I've seen people who are presented, or I said they're working with new relationships. They don't know anything about that person or that company, and that company's like, look, let's sign for 5 albums. You don't know anything about that person. Why not just do an EP or maybe 1 album?
Okay. Before we wrap up, we wrapping up. So as we wrap up, is it anybody you're excited about or anybody you work with at this moment that you would like to recognize and people to look out for?
Of course, Nikki Natural. Yes, I got to give a shout out. That's my artist, Nikki Natural, coming to you real soon. She's hot.
Okay.
Yeah, you can follow her, Nikki Natural on IG. She's hot, yes.
I hope she understands the value that she have in you, the treasure that you are, to help. See, a lot of people feel like the artist is just the talent. They don't realize that the talent is also the people that's around them. It's a team effort. And the relationships that you have go a lot further sometimes than just the music. You feel me? A lot of times we think it's just a dope record, and that's how I got up out of there. I know a lot of artists feel like, oh, they're riding my wave, when it's like, no, you've been signed to this label. You came because of the resources that these people have, the relationships that these people have to break you out on different platforms. And I always want to make sure we get that respect and that credibility because you're a treasure, you feel me? And a lot of people don't know that. Like, I came to her bit, the mayor attends. That's how big, it's like God mother, the godmother. You know what I'm saying? You feel me when it comes to Bernie, and it's an honor and it's a privilege to have you on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to tell people about where they can find you if they want to work?
Actually, there's something we didn't cover I wanted to address.
Okay, cool.
It's the importance of making sure that you have contracts for everything that you do.
Okay.
When you're an artist, you have to have a contract for everything. If you have a feature that's part of your project, make sure you have a featured artist agreement. If you're working with a producer, make sure you have a producer agreement. If you have someone who's helping you write songs, make sure you have a songwriter agreement. If you have musicians performing on your project, make sure you have a work for hire agreement. Make sure you have an agreement with your engineer, because sometimes I've seen issues with that. So you just want to make sure that you have an agreement for everything that you do. I heard someone say something recently about if a company pays for recording, that they own the rights to the master. Now, under the law, you got to have a written agreement, and that written agreement basically tells you who owns the rights to the work. That's the purpose of it. If you don't have an agreement, it's called a joint work. You got to have something in writing that tells you who owns what. It's not about who paid for it. You pay for it, you make sure you get it in writing, and then you own it.
Exactly.
If you don't have it in writing, you co-own it. You know what I mean? If you were a creator of that intellectual property.
Right.
But if you're just the record label and you pay for the studio time, you don't have rights to that intellectual property if you don't have anything in writing that says that you own that work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
how do people find me? Bernie Gets You Paid.
Bernie definitely gets you paid.
That's the best way to reach out. I also have a firm page that's BLW APC Lawyers on IG as well. On Twitter, it's My Attorney Bernie. Actually, you know what? I think I just changed it. Never mind. I just changed that. Okay. I'm not really a Twitter person.
Okay.
So, on LinkedIn, Bernie Lawrence Watkins. So, yeah.
And I forgot to say she's a world-renowned traveler. You feel me?
Yes, I love to travel.
Where's the next place?
Next place, I'm going to Morocco in July, and Tanzania in December, and then Rio in February.
I might meet you in Tanzania.
You'll meet me in Tanzania?
I might meet you in Tanzania.
Okay.
I got some stuff going on.
Okay.
I might meet you in Tanzania.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
Thank you so much, Bernie. Once again, it's been an honor and a pleasure. This is Free Game Friday, man, with Bernie Lawrence Watkins.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Boom.
For sure.
Boom.
Thank y'all for tuning in, man.
Still booming. Boom still booming.
Boom, man, still booming. It's authentic and nothing. The big AE, not the little one. And we out of here. Let's move.